Ride sharing was a thing way before the pandemic, but when the world shut down, drivers truly became essential, delivering meals and groceries. In those uncertain times, many drivers appreciated the work, though not so much their pay. Now, because of an arcane clause in the rules governing their compensation, drivers may be owed hundreds of millions of dollars. Sergio Avedian is one of the drivers who discovered the discrepancy and a senior contributor to the RideShare Guy. He spoke to Lisa McCree.
Sergio, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, make this as simple as you can, because it is not simple. But tell us about AB 5 and Prop 22 and what it meant specifically to you guys.
When the law is involved, obviously it's not a simple situation. But AB 5 codified pretty much every gig worker, and I call them gig worker, no more rideshare drivers, right? As employees of these companies. And these companies do not want their workers to be called employees. They want them to be independent contractors.
If drivers are forced to become employees, up to 90% of app-based driving jobs could disappear.
So when AB 5 became the law of the land, they passed something called Prop 22. They spent $220 million of their own money to campaign for Proposition 22, which was on the ballot in the 2020 elections.
Our caravan is arriving from MacArthur Park. Drivers are mobilizing.
Why should Uber and Lyft get away from cheating employees out of overtime?
So let me hear your horns if you're ready to fight back against Uber and Lyft. Let me hear your horns if you know that this law is unconstitutional.
And Proposition 22 nullified all the effects of AB 5, and the workers stayed independent contractors.
You and another gig driver, Pablo Palliers, started to do some back-of-the-envelope math once you discovered this little bitty clause, though.
Sure did.
And you realized that it may be that you're owed a few cents a mile, which could add up to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Absolutely. So what happened initially is that Pablo, who is also a driver, active driver in Los Angeles, he's one of our viewers on the RideShare Guy, and I get a lot of emails and texts, hundreds of them from all over the country, and they give me the ideas to work on certain things, and Pablo's was one. It all started with an innocent text on April 13th of this year, and he said, "Sergio, maybe you should look into this." I'm like, "Sure." So we started looking into it. We read the law, and we found this little snippet, which was right at the end. And it said that there had to be an inflation adjustment made for what gig workers should get paid. And that has not been done. So when we figured this out, it looked like small amounts, 2 cents for 2022 and two more cents for 2023. But then if you consider that there are 1.4 million gig workers in California, that's a huge number. And an average gig worker will drive, full-timer actually, 4,000 to 5,000 miles a month. So when we did the little back-of-the-envelope calculations, as you said, we came up with billions of miles times 2 cents or 4 cents is hundreds of millions of dollars. So we go like, okay, now we have something here, right?
So what did you do?
We called the treasurer's office because the companies, the way they wrote the law was that they put the ball in her court. Fiona Ma is the treasurer of California. And she was supposed to make this adjustment and make it public every January. January of 2022, she didn't do it. January 2023, she didn't do it. We called the office. They had no clue of what we were talking about.
So what was her excuse for not publishing that information?
Yeah, her excuse was that Prop 22 was under litigation. So the law of the land is under litigation. I don't have to publish it. Well, we talked to our legal scholars, and they said no such thing. Prop 22 was the law of the land. It was just oversight or ignorance, because when we first called their office, they absolutely had no clue of what we were talking about. This is a public official, right? So what happens is that then we figured out we need to continue with the story, right? And sure enough, I packaged everything, and then I sent to a good friend of mine, Brian Merchant of LA Times, and he looked at it. A couple days later, he said, "Yep, it's a go. We're going to do it." And obviously, he did his due diligence. He called the treasurer's office. He called the companies, and they all said, The gig company said it's her fault. And then she said, no, it's their fault. And of course, balls getting thrown back and forth as usual. And,
Yeah, Brian says it's a huge mess. But here's what we want to know, because we really depend on drivers.
Yeah.
Did you get your money?
Yeah, I did.
Tell me.
So I am a very part-time driver. So is my wife. My wife does deliveries on Doordash and Uber Eats. As our family, we got $300. Now, if you multiply that times 1 million drivers, that's just 300 million. But from all the emails I've received so far, I had one driver receive $1,100 from Uber and $800 from Lyft. So it's going to be, look, these companies are not transparent. They will not tell us what they're putting out there. So we don't know, but our estimates are it's going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and we got paid. So I think all the companies paid.
And Sergio, now with your podcast, you have another mission.
Yeah, we're always on a mission, Lisa. So we do a podcast and live stream on our YouTube channel called Show Me the Money Club. So we try to inform and educate drivers. But now we want to change that to the consumer, because Proposition 22, we figured, is a totally consumer-funded law. These companies are not putting a penny for driver benefits, as they advertised during the campaign, right? So what we want to find out is the voters voted for this proposition, and maybe they would want to know where their money is going, right? 59% of Californians voted for Proposition 22. Well, we're figuring that's close to $5 or $6 billion since these companies collected when the law passed, January of 2020.
Sergio Ovidian, thank you so much. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you. Much appreciated.